Okay, so my name is Charles Taylor. I'll do the general university introduction. I'm a senior in physics, and I'm hoping I'll probably be graduating in the spring, and I am hoping to go on to graduate school afterwards.
Awesome. Alrighty, so as we mentioned before, it's just going to be one question to start. Tell me your story.
Okay. I watched the first two videos, and I thought it was interesting that this sort of interaction and/or interview had taken place, and that it probably should be proliferated amongst more students, because I think that having perspective is very important, regardless of whether it's your own or others, preferably others. So I'm a non-traditional student. That was one of the things I highlighted. So I'm 32, and yeah, because I was born in '92. As a quick synopsis, I was moved around around 28 times from 2 or 3 to graduating high school. So I got to experience a lot of different states, cities, and different people. I went to 12 different schools in 12 years for grade school and everything like that, and having the lack of stability in that way, other than I had familiar stability in that my parents were mostly the same throughout most of that time, but the lack of that allowed me to experience more and more people, and usually people that were not doing so well, because we were also not doing so well. Normally the question that I get whenever I tell about how often I've moved is oh, were you in the military, or were your family in the military? And it was just bad finances most of the time. So we moved around and were couch surfers a lot of times. What I really got from it is that I learned how to respect my financial situation, and so that I don't take advantage of it and then lose my future over it, and also my emotional well-being, and also that I get to experience so many different people in so many different varietals, with exception to what I would call upper class finances. Having gone through all the different schools that I went to, I got to change quite a bit, because I had so many different influences on me so often. In second grade, I was in 4 different schools in 3 different states, as an example. And often I would come back to Iowa. I spent a lot of time in Texas, but after high school, I didn't think that I would be very good at doing college. I ended with a 3.2, which I wasn't really sure about, because I thought I had slept through most of high school. And then I had grown up with just lots of people doing a variety of really crappy work. And I had also really enjoyed the show Dirty Jobs. So I was really fond of the type of people that helped move everything all at once, all the time, and doing the worst jobs. So after high school, I went into the Navy, and I was quickly medically discharged, because I sleepwalk occasionally, and that makes it difficult if you're going to be a nuclear engineer for them. So after I got medically discharged, I was oh, well, I gotta make myself useful, but I still don't have confidence in myself. Even though I was capable, I just lacked the effort and accountability. So then I just went on a random spread of different jobs, working for Walmart, remodeling Walmarts, learning how to teach martial arts, learning how to do gymnastics and coach it, managing tennis courts, being a cowhand, and many more jobs, so that I could get people's experiences and also feel competent. But I really came into my own at a later time than what I imagine most students do, which was around 26, and that's when I realized that I could take on debt and go to school. So when I came back to Iowa to live with family who would support me initially for community college, I went to Southeastern Community College, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to like have a mental challenge as opposed to labor. So I had gone on to get a general, like just doing the general classes for community college, which is like the gen eds here, and I think it's much more affordable. I don't know if the quality is similar, but so far I haven't been kicked out of here, so I was fine with that. But it was also much less expensive, and it could help me temper my lack of academic history for like the previous 8 years or so, and with the need to become like an academic person. So it was a good transitionary phase for the first associates. After my first associates, I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I had gotten it in a general science, and this was like 2020 is when I graduated with it. And then I moved on to wanting to have a fallback degree, so I decided to stay another 2 years with the community college and get a network administration and cybersecurity degree. And at the same time, because I had worked on the previous classes, I managed to get physics, math, and chemistry out of the way there too, so that I could transfer for basically anything and then have a fallback in case I didn't make it up to snuff, relatively speaking. And then during the 2020 time was when we had elections, when we had everything else that was going on in the world, which didn't change very much for me because I like to keep to myself generally. But it was interesting to see my friends, which tend to be more liberal, experiencing all the hope that they had around 2020, and because there was just a plethora of candidates, it was like walking into a Walmart and finding everything available, and then nothing was really satisfying. and then everything happened fully, and we moved on. And I was still like focusing in on taking as many classes as possible for the second 2 years, and then finally graduating with it and feeling just a little bit accomplished because I knew I could get a backup job that paid well and above more than what my family had, because I'm the first like graduate in my family. Speaking of which, TRIO has been very important to my academic career, and I think if it's not just for first generation people, I think it would be a great model for a lot of students that supposedly have the background of their family taking part in college. Because I know that just because that is the case, that doesn't mean you actually have access to the help or the privilege that has. And TRIO also bleeds into a program called McNair, which I'm a part of as well, which helps prep the same or similar types of people towards graduate school. And so right now I'm working on graduate school, or working towards getting to graduate school. So yeah, I wanted to point out that TRIO has been very useful, and I think that TRIO would be very useful for almost all students, because I knew that I had a lack of information going into like how college operates throughout high school, because even though I had gone to so many different high schools, I felt like I was lacking in awareness, and I imagine that proliferates amongst all students to some degree. So whenever I came here, after finishing the 4 years or so at the community college, I decided to go into physics because I wanted to do nuclear engineering, like circle back on the Navy thing, and which I've since changed. But I thought that the physics approach would be really useful because it would be the most challenging thing that I could do, and also get the most help to do so. Because I think that it's very stagnant if I'm not challenging myself, or at least I've realized that since I've come into my own. But like my first semester here was I had torn my ACL just like a week or two before class, and so I had that surgery, which was paid for by the state. So the healthcare system apparently works in certain instances, and I was really appreciative of that because I found out it's like a $60,000 surgery. thereabouts. But I didn't do well that first semester because the prescriptions, they don't make computation very easy. So I couldn't think for like 2 months straight, at least not successfully beyond like communication. So yeah, my first semester was basically like a plummet after doing so well my previous 4 years, relatively speaking. And so now I've been like slowly building myself back up, and it like helped me to think about how often we act like as a wave, like where things peak and trough, so to speak. Like my community college time was a good peak for me because I like came into myself, became aware that I was not happy with doing what I was doing, and then I got to a point that I could move on, and so I have. And so far, that's what I've been enjoying about it with physics. I've since improved since the ACL surgery. One of the things that I really wanted to I guess talk about with respect to this, and I haven't seen so many students coming to Iowa State that are non-traditional, and I'm ambiguously non-traditional in that sometimes I look like a regular student, and then sometimes I look like a full-grown adult, which I'm hoping that happens more often. I'm getting carded less finally, which is very nice. And y'all thought I was a photographer or something like that, or a journalist. Yeah. And I was just like, yes, I can blend in if I need to. Yes. But like being a non-traditional student, like I've used it as like a crutch almost as well, to allow myself to make excuses and fail for like when I'm not absorbing information in the same way that I used to. And it's also made me realize how much I just use like my personal excuses as crutches to like let myself down. Because like physics it's as challenging as people think it is, but it's also there's almost everyone in it seems to want to help you to get on their level because they need the help. they need more bodies, relatively speaking. But I think that that's the same for almost every field, or almost every program, that like regardless of what you think you can or can't do, and also when you can't do it, you probably can. It's mostly how much are you holding yourself back. And my before 26 or so, that was me like realizing how much I was holding myself back.
How do you and your family feel about you being the first college graduate in your family? How does that impact you and your family?
Okay. My mom has been the one that's been there for me throughout most of it, and it's been really important to her that I guess that I not necessarily prove myself, but come to fruition with respect to how much I can think, according to her, and according to like maybe other people. So whenever I decided that I was going to go to college after like trying all the other things that I had done, so she was really invested in the idea, but couldn't. It was emotionally invested. Like, you are going to be the first one to graduate, and I'm going to come to every single graduation, which has been unfortunate for her because I have had 3 already with the associates, and then I will have another one in like 6 months or so here because I don't think I'm going to fail. And then presumably I will go on to get like a graduate, because there's like in the United States, there's no master's that you get with physics. You just get a doctorate. They gloat and dote on me relatively to other people, just like as like a casual aside to most of their conversations, about me like graduating and what I'm planning on like graduating with and what I'm planning on going for. So it's like superfluous and really interesting to them that I was like, I'm gonna do nuclear engineering and now I'm gonna do like condensed matter physics, and it's like, I don't understand any of that stuff, but we're still really invested in you like doing these things because it'll be good for you, and then by extension it'll be good for them because I care about them, and then it'll be good for hopefully everybody else, because arguably that's what I think I'm ultimately doing this for.
All right, my next question I have for you is, do you feel welcome at Iowa State?
Yes. The pause was more or less for trying to remember times when I think that I don't feel welcome. The only times that I think that I would feel close to not, or be close to not feeling welcome is when I am aware, like I'm part of organizations that cater towards, I guess, DEI perspectives and or minority, unrepresented, whichever word is useful for this categorization, just because of being non-traditional typically. And I really like to align with the non-traditional because of it's been important how much my memory has sucked since getting older, when I would used to just like read a textbook and remember everything, and now I can't do that. So it's been an important part of me, but also because I've moved around so much, I've been invested in being as much like other people as possible. So like my favorite sport is soccer, and I've never watched a game of American football. So I feel like I'm from another country a lot of times. It's like when I was in community college, there was a plethora of clubs still. One of the clubs that I started was debate club because it was a potent time for the Democratic campaign to be around, and then just Trump. And I wanted there to be like really interesting conversations, which didn't happen, but I just wanted it. And I also got to be a part of like Turning Point USA. I got to be a part of the LGBTQ club. I actively went after more perspectives because I was tired of feeling like I was being in bubbles and being shoved into relative bubbles, and or that while I think it's fine to paint a picture or to pick out a book based off of its cover, and then to find out the personality, I think that it requires more nuance to learn more about the person and learn more about their perspective rather than sharing your own. So I rarely like to share my own, but it seems like most people like to share their perspective as much as possible, and that perspective is like dogma to some degree. So a lot of spaces that I go into, even if I don't agree with what I'm saying, I like to go against dogma to the degree that it may add perspective, because there's just so much like information to rifle through, and like the variations that we all contain seems to be so provoking, and like it's it's like really like emotionally charged, relatively speaking. And so like I like to go into spaces and initially feel unwelcome and then slowly make myself more welcome as I tell them about myself and tell them about how I can connect to them, because I've tried to connect to so many different similar communities before, and being able to juxtapose what is expected from the type of book cover that you see on a person when you come up to that book cover is just, it's invigorating, but it's also like a little worrisome when the first page is just like, oh yeah, by the way, I dislike these people. So otherwise I generally feel welcome. I think that most people are generally allowed everywhere, but I'm aware that most people also have this inkling that they're not welcome everywhere, which is I think where that like recommendation thing that the Board of Regents had come across, is that there was enough people that felt like they were actively being excluded in response to inclusionary practices.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Alrighty, while you were talking, I actually came up with one more question.
Okay.
And then I just have like a final wrap-up question,
Okay.
and we'll be all set to go.
Yeah.
My last real question for you is, what advice do you have for other non-traditional students at Iowa State?
So it's technically advice for all students. One of the things that I noticed whenever I got into McNair, and then also to Trio further, because I had become like a foolish adult, pun intended possibly, and I think that you need to go after opportunities more so, and go after opportunities, which just means discovering them more and more, because a lot of the things that I've been afforded to do while I've been here has been to both learn about different people's perspectives, which that in itself is an opportunity for personal growth. Like how do you respond to how a person delivers their worldview? And then also there are so many different things that can help you settle into any problem that you have. I wasn't, as an extreme example relative for me, the ACL tear, I wasn't expecting that I would be able to manage getting surgery almost like a couple weeks after getting my ACL injury due to state aid. And it's really just like following through the processes, the like administrative / bureaucratic processes that will eventually help you to get to the goals that you need to, and also then just unabashedly asking people to do a certain thing. Like that's largely how I feel like I've learned physics. It's like, I don't understand this problem, or where you think you're communicating what this physics means, can you explain it further? Because as many students have noticed, the tutoring for physics is sparse.
Alrighty, then my final wrap-up question for you is there anything that we forgot? Anything that we missed? Or is there anything else you would like our readers or viewers to know about you?
When I was in Texas, things were so vehement against Obama, and now Texas isn't like their world hasn't ended, and now the opposite is relatively true in this area, and also my friends that I care about, or just people regardless of whether I care about them or not, because I can't do that with everybody. It's just too many people. There's so many opportunities for things to change and or to improve, and the opposite of improvement, the word is escaping me, but like we'll get through the problems that you currently have, so long as you like seek it out, and also if you can manage to reduce your own sense of like emotional importance on the subject. Sometimes, because if you're weighing so heavily on it, like I think one of the issues with like therapy and self-help is that people allow things to weigh on them so heavily. You've got to roll with things as well, and or move to a different part of that like river, like so. You just keep going, and like as I guess kids would say, it's like it's not that deep, relatively speaking.